Hello, this is a lesson on writing article from the English download textbook, Unit 4, Shopping Therapy on page 52 and 53. Learning objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to produce a plan of 4 paragraphs in writing article for a magazine by using words like we and us to make readers feel included in writing, and explain the main points of an idea or argument in writing article. Article is getting your reader's attention. Unlike essays, which are a more serious way of discussing ideas, articles can entertain as well as inform readers. Your tone of voice can be less formal and you can get your reader's attention by talking to them in a more direct way. Use words like we and us to make readers feel included in what you are writing about, and try putting some of your ideas in the form of a question. For example, how would you feel if? Now let's get into practice. Task 1. Read these 2 alternative opening paragraphs and tick the one you think would make most readers continue reading the article. Now when we look at these 2 paragraphs, they are the opening paragraph. They might be the possible ways of starting the same article. Now bear in mind that we have to attract the reader's attention in order to read more on the content of our article. Let's read through. A. Many people spend too much money on new technology these days. They often change their mobile phones every year, for example, as new models are produced. Now let's look at B. How often do you buy a new mobile phone? We all want to have the latest technology, but are we spending too much money on it? Now, between these 2 opening paragraphs, B sounds more like you let the readers ponder upon what we are going to write about in the next content of our writing. So the answer is B. Now let's move to task 2. Now read this opening paragraph, which is highlighted in yellow, and use the language bank as shown here to help you rewrite it in a more interesting way for a teenage magazine. Let's read the opening paragraph first. Teenagers are often told they spend too much money on brand name fashion. They often buy expensive trainers for example, when cheaper ones are just as good. So we are going to rewrite this opening paragraph in a more interesting way for a teenage magazine. Now let's go through the language bank shown here. First, asking the reader, how often do you, how much do you, could you, would you, can you imagine, have you or do you ever, how would you feel if, and this is how do we include the reader in our writing. We can use you or your, we or our, and us. Now let's look at the suggested answer provided here in a more interesting way. How much do you spend on new trainers? We all want to have the latest brand name fashion, but are we spending too much money on it? As you can see, the opening paragraph stated here or suggested here is giving the readers to ponder upon what's next in our writing. Moving on to task 3. Read the following writing tasks and underline the 3 points that must be included in the article. Then answer the questions below. You have seen this announcement in an international magazine for teenagers. Now let's read through the writing tasks given here. Articles wanted on 21st century lifestyles. What is the one place where modern teenagers go shopping the most? Sports shops, clothes shops, electronic shops. Tell us what kind of shop, what they want to buy, and why it is important to them. The best article will be published in next month's magazine. So the 3-point required here is refers to what they want to buy, what kind of shop, and why it is important to them. Now let's look at the questions given here. Question number 1. Who will be reading the article? Question number 2. Could you use we and us in the article to talk to this type of reader? And number 3, the task asks you to describe why the shop is important to you or young people generally. So which is the correct answer for number 3? Now let's look at the answers. Okay, number 1. Who will be reading the article? Obviously, teenagers. Number 2. Could you use we and us in the article to talk to this type of reader? The answer is yes. And for number 3, the task asks you to describe why the shop is important to young people generally. Now this is the sample of written article based on task 3. Remember that an article must have a title, and the title here is Teenage Shopping in the 21st Century. Now before we read through this article, let's look at the questions. Question number 1. Has the writer answered the 3 points asked for in the task? Okay, let's go through the article later on. Question number 2. Underline the opinion expressed in paragraph 3. We are going to find out which is the opinion expressed in paragraph 3. Question number 3. Look at the comparison that helps to explain this opinion. What 2 things does the writer compare? So we are going to find out what are the 2 things the writer compare in this article. Now let's read through. How many hours do you spend looking at new gadgets and games you want to buy in your local electronics shop? It seems to be the one place we can keep away from. On most Saturday mornings, you can find groups of young people looking at new types of technology. Many of us want to see the latest phones and find out about apps for downloading music, social networking, and other forms of entertainment. Others are choosing one of the hundreds of new computer games or looking at the prices of iPads and the wide range of mini computers. Why is this kind of shopping so important to us? I think the main reason is that technology gives us independence. Teenagers can now organize their lives themselves using their own equipment. In the old days, young people often had to turn their music down, change the TV channel, or stop using the family telephone so much. Now we can chat to friends and keep up with the latest gossip and news or play music whenever we want. That's worth shopping around for, isn't it? Now I think we have the idea and the answer for the questions required. Now let's look at the answers. Here's the answers for the questions. Now the answer for the question for number 1 is obviously yes. The writer did state the 3 points asked for in the task. And for number 2, the opinion expressed in paragraph 3 refers to Technology gives us independence. We can look at the word I think shows that it is an opinion. Question number 3. The answer is the old days and now. Now let's look at task 5. We are going to have more practice on how are we going to elaborate more on opinions. Making comparisons can be a powerful way of explaining what you mean. Read this opinion, which is highlighted in yellow, and then write 2 different explanations making comparisons. Let's look at number 1, the old days and now. Number 2, at school and free time. Now let's look at the suggested answers provided here to task 5. Number 1, in the old days, there was less for young people to do, so reading was fun. But now the internet means we or they don't need books so much more. Number 2, when teenagers are at school, they have to read a lot of books. So when we or they have free time, we or they want to do something else to relax. So it's either you want to use we or they when you are writing and explaining the comparisons. Now, here's your task. You are required to write an article based on task 6 from the textbook on page 53. It has to be a written assignment in 140 to 190 words. Don't forget to hand in your written assignment to your teacher. So that's it. Thank you.